Well, with Spiritforged finally out and about, it looks like we're starting to get some price increases with some Origin stuff. Yeah, we're seeing Sett skyrocket, Timewarps climb, and heck, even Seal of Discord getting to some insane prices. But what is everything else looking like for Spiritforged and Origins alike? Well, we're going to dive into that right now. This is always an interesting time because usually what happened with Origins was we ended up keeping some low prices for about 2 to 3 days and then everything skyrocketed. That's awesome, kind of, not really, but the big thing with that is that in this case with Spiritforged, while we have had a lot more product be able to flood the market, which is awesome, the hard part with that is we now have 2 regionals that are coming out for Europe and the United States respectively. Not only that, there are people who do just want to build the best of the best decks, or even just a deck that they want to play. That's why Sett probably is skyrocketing, is because a lot of people want to play Fiora, and a card that was just 2 weeks ago around $18 is now near $50 to $55. Likewise, Seal Discord did see a huge increase when it ended up being played in a proxy tournament over in Europe with Miracle Draven. That shot up in price. Not only that, Ezreal's end up using them a decent amount too. But even still, with all of that, now Seal of Discord went from near $40, now all the way up to $55 to $60 for a single card. Now, there is still some silver linings here, but again, I think this is going to be something that we are going to be seeing where, again, for the first couple of days, things are about normal, and then things shoot up. Now, we'll see what that price action is, but again, we'll see. The nice part about this is, though, is like what we said, the pre-Rift ended up actually really helping to saturate the market early on. Now, with all the product that is now out and about, we'll see how many people are actually wanting to sell. And this is where, before we look at the price value, I'm a little bit worried that we are going to hit that drought again. I don't want to necessarily hit said drought where, like what we had with Origins, we went in and we were able to get products for about the first 2-3 weeks, and then it just went scarcity. And the only way that you could really even get a pack was if you ended up winning them at your local Nexus night. And it's like, okay, cool. Then on top of that, the market ended up just skyrocketing in value, where everything was just super expensive, you know, where it was the chase cards, the signature spells, things like that were $20 and above, and sometimes even more extreme than that. I don't think we're necessarily going to be hitting those kinds of numbers, but we're still going to be seeing some really interesting price action here in the next couple of weeks, especially with the regionals that are going to be going on. Now, one thing that I do want to point out here, first and foremost, of course, is going to be the top gainers here. Now, of course, this is for the last 7 days. And something to be interesting and keep in mind here is that, yeah, it's been interesting to see, even like Immortal Phoenix. I haven't necessarily seen that in a whole lot of deck lists, but it has absolutely skyrocketed in price, going up now to around $38, at least according to this web service. This, of course, is magicalmeta.inc. You can check that out for yourself. Then again, yes, Sett Brawler now going up to around 46%, going up near 100% in price action there. And likewise, Seal of Discord. On the flip side, in the mid-range values, Singularity, now, of course, that is going to be for the foil. That's going to be around $14. Meanwhile, Sabotage and Fiora Victorious, very popular in the Fiora decks. Also, just even Sabotage is ran in most orange decks in general. Very powerful card, even just to get the hand knowledge, let alone getting a non-unit card tossed to the trash. Very helpful. And then also, on the low end, we have Salvage, which has had a 290% increase there, which is really surprising. I get that it is a really good card, being able to destroy a gear and then draw one. Very powerful there. Still can be defied and things like that, but all in all, very solid card for you to be able to utilize here. Now, Morbid Return, I'm actually really surprised about too. I haven't necessarily, again, seen any deck lists yet. It'll be really interesting to see what ends up happening in Italy with the first regionals that is coming up this next weekend, if I recall correctly on my dates, and then even Vegas after that at the end of February. That's going to be absolutely insane. Then on the top 3 decliners, Draven Audacious, the alternate art, now at $20. Ezreal Prodigy, the thing to keep in mind with that was originally around $130 to $150 in pre-sale price, and that got slapped with reality pretty quick there, going now down to $65, though it was at $50 around opening night, and so something to keep in mind there. And then, of course, even the Aurelia had actually a pretty decent fall too. It was around $50 and now going down to near $23. So really cool to be able to see in that case. Then Draven Vanquisher. Again, it looks like the Dravens, especially in the rare slot, a lot of people are pulling those to where even the regular Draven was like $1. Because even in the rare slot, it just didn't necessarily have a lot of competition on being pulled, and a lot of Draven decks end up just running one, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that per se. Likewise, Relentless Pursuit, the signature spell of Lucian, very good there, but still also only $8.45. That is solid. Again, if you want to build a decent deck, Lucian is a really fun one to build, and you should be able to do so relatively cheap. Likewise, we have the signature spell of Fiora at $7 too, with a 71% drop there. So really good to be able to see where all of this is at. And it'll be fun to see where everything kind of ends up going at this point. Are we going to continue to have some product be able to break in, or are we going to start seeing things really start to fluctuate? And I mean, especially with the regionals, if there is a surprise deck that ends up doing really good, we're going to be seeing a huge increase in prices for stuff revolving around those cards. Now, still, in a lot of ways, this product is still very healthy. I mean, Guardian Angel at $4, really good card that is able to provide a lot of value to your deck, only at, around $4.33. Likewise, Bellows Breath, right now, the number 2 most sold card in the last 7 days. Looks like at $185. Now, that's just absolutely crazy that the total sold for Guardian Angel, $975. Even going above Bellows Breath at second, which is at $792. Then not only that, we got Switcheroo, Ferris Forerunner at $664. Piercing Light has been a very popular one. If you're running Kaisas, even Miracle Draven sometimes runs that list, which is a really fun way to go about playing the deck. Very powerful card. Then you also even have like Trinity Force and Not So Fast at $611 and $592 respectively. And then again, yeah, there's the original Draven there at $559. So really fun to be able to see where like the price action and what people are buying. It's interesting because it seems like a lot of people are playing towards the Ezreals, towards the Dravens, towards even the Victors. I've seen a lot of people picking up a lot of product to be able to play Victor itself. Now, he is a very good deck. It'll be interesting to see how it impacts the meta, but all in all, really cool to be able to see how things continue to climb. Now, likewise, we're going to be taking a look at Spiritforged first, then going into Riftbound, and Origins as a whole. And this is because this is the first week that this is, of course, out. I really want to keep this with the signature stuff originally. If you're new to these videos, we don't normally look at the signature stuff because they're literally just going to be around the same price with some fluctuation sometimes from week to week, but not necessarily anything that we are going to be going and watching out for. Now, of course, the big chase card here is going to be the Ari Inquisitive signature, just an absolute chase card of the set. And right now, the lowest price that you are going to be able to find it is $2,600. Now, that is absolutely insane, but it is the rarest card, and especially with having over 40 overnumbered and alt cards, trying to be able to pull this, let alone signature, is going to be incredibly rare. The hard part about this is that, yeah, they say even just like a signature card is 1 in 30 boxes. So if you are able to pull a signature or two, good on you. That's easily over $1,000 card there. Likewise, one that's really good. I mean, I love how this card looks. Though Vayne isn't necessarily nearly sold at as high of a value. I mean, rightfully so. It's funny how popular Ari is. Yes, it's a gorgeous card. Don't get me wrong. But just because it is Ari, it just catapults the value there. Now, Vayne, his signature is going to be at near $1,400. That is a hefty payday for a signature. And also, if you do ever happen to pull a signature, feel free to get them graded, because if you do have a 9 or a 10 grade, ooh, that is a lot of good stuff there. Now, of course, if you want the alt art legends, you're going to be looking at around $100 for those, unless, of course, you're chasing after the Ezreal and the Dravens. Now, those did end up coming down a decent amount. Those were near $200, both of them, even Aurelia. Aurelia is still near 185, so maybe a little inkling there on what might be getting brought to these regionals or even played at your locals. Because either they're not getting pulled, or with the popularity, a lot of people are wanting to pick these up. And then likewise, everything else, kind of just there in this case. I do like that the Ornn there, overnumbered, really probably one of my favorite overnumbered is the Ornn itself. Really good looking card, and at $80. So if you are looking to play Ornn, that's one of the cheaper options here for a really fun deck. Now, Ezreal, he's going to be an interesting one. He was down at around $50 when the game first came out, or when the set first came out on Friday and Saturday. Ended up picking up my other two Ezreals that I needed for around $50 and $55, and now it looks like it is going to climb. There, of course, are a couple of decks that end up, like if you're running a specific Ezreal deck, sometimes he runs 1, sometimes you just run 2, but if you're doing like Miracle Draven, then you're running 3. If you're running Sivir, you're running 3. It's just such a powerful card. The ability that you are able to discard 1, then draw 2 for 3 and a power alone is already a good enough ability. But then on top of that, when you have optional additional costs you pay cost 1 or 1 power less. I mean, that alone is going to be so insane, and what Sivir and Ezreal especially love to utilize here. And so we'll see how the price goes, but I really think that Ezreal is going to be a little bit lower for the time being, and then once the scarcity kind of starts hitting, he could be skyrocketing up to that $80 to $90 price range. So things to keep in mind. And we still, of course, have a lot of the Spiritforged Origin that is being waited on. Some people have started to get their Spiritforged getting shipped out from their Riot orders. Some people haven't had that confirmed yet. Again, that might be another thing to help bring the market down. But again, we will see how that ends up going. But it could be something interesting to watch. Now, likewise, we did start with, like, for example, even Defiant Dance. When the game first came out, it was around a $30 card. Now it looks like that is starting to climb up to $45 to $50 for a signature spell. Now, of course, Aurelia is going to be one of the top decks here of this meta, but then you're even looking at something like Draven's signature spell, which even probably has the same amount of popularity, if not maybe a little bit less, but not by much, and you're looking at $40 for that. Now, of course, you are able to run the Chinese versions of the deck too, which is really good. So if you do want to go for maybe a little bit cheaper option, see what you can do about maybe getting some Chinese. You don't need to shop on TCG Arena for those prices, but you can usually find that to be a lot cheaper in that case. One that's actually really surprising to Arise. I mean, this was a card that started at around $15 and then it skyrocketed up to $40. And so kind of crazy there to see what that's able to do. But you're still able to see around $29, but with something like Azir, he might be one of those sleeper decks. Something to keep in mind. He did get second place at a China Regionals, but I mean, again, if you are already going to be spending, $120 to try to build a deck, well, you might as well just buy the Draven signature spell and be able to build that guaranteed tier 1 near tier 0 deck at that point, because why else would you necessarily want to? Now, likewise with Azir, the nice thing about the Arise, at least, is that that's really going to be the most expensive card that you need. Everything else is going to be dirt cheap. Even the champion itself is around a $5 card, which is really nice to be able to see. But again, if you're paying $120 for 3 cards, that can sometimes be a very difficult thing to try to do. Now, Svelisonger, that's going to be the big thing. It has climbed in price. It's probably going to be one of the chase cards. Now, of course, here we have the Chinese again for around $30. Not bad at all. But on the other flip side, then we immediately jump up to $54 to $55, which is just absolutely insane to consider with that card. I mean, it is a rare card, very gorgeous card at that. Love to be able to see it, but we'll see what ends up happening. Aurelia actually is one that had a little bit of a fall. I could see her kind of doing a bit of a wave where she falls for a little bit and then climbs right back up. But even still, Aurelia, you're generally running 1 or 2 in your Aurelia deck. You're never running 3, which is something that can really help keep her price down. But again, I really do like that we have $18. Even, for example, we have $19 in the Chinese, $19 in English. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, that's easy enough and very helpful at that. So we'll see how that ends up going. But again, I could see it going up, especially right after the first regionals. If Aurelia starts having some showings, that could be really changing the price of the deck. That's going to be one thing to keep in mind too with that, is that a lot of people in the Riftbound community, especially from seeing things, unless you're actually pretty competitive or you just like watching the competitive scene, haven't been watching the Chinese tournaments per se. We're just casual. We go to our local Nexus nights. We play it once a week kind of thing. It's our hobby. That's about it. And so for a lot of people in this meta, this is brand new for them. So they're just like, all right, well, we'll see what we're able to do. But at the same time, that's going to be the thing that can really help make this market a bit more chaotic. If we go to Italy and this deck just ends up winning it, everything is going to be shooting up and like just in an insane number there. But that's sometimes how it is in that case. But even still, I'm not necessarily too worried. The signature spell is already crazy enough. I really hope that Aurelia can stay down a little bit lower. But otherwise, things have kind of gone up. We had Arcane Shift, which was originally around like $5 at the start. It's gone up to around $12. Again, Ezreal is going to be one of the most popular legends that you are going to be pulling, and I mean rightfully so. He's a really fun deck to play. A little complicated, but very fun to get your hands on. Then we even have like the Fiora alternate art, really good card. If you're playing the Fiora deck, $12 for an alt art, really not that bad to look at. And Fiora could be a very cheap deck to build. I mean, we only have $8 for the signature spell, $12 for an alt art. That's crazy enough already. And then, of course, we have even Downwell. We haven't seen a whole lot done with Downwell yet. We have Downwell Ezreal that hasn't necessarily picked up a whole lot of traction. It's my favorite version of the deck. It's really fun. But even still, I get why people haven't necessarily played Downwell too much yet. But that could be a sleeper card that if you want to start picking up, it could really make an impact, especially in these next few sets potentially. But otherwise, things are just kind of normal here. I really like On the Hunt being at $3. You don't normally run her too much in a Sivir deck, but still, even with that, she's pretty solid, all things considered. $3 for Jack's alternate art. Jack's also could be a really good sleeper build in this case. He ended up getting a top 8 at a China Regionals. He should be fairly cheap to build. A lot of people pulled the Jack stuff from the pre-riffs, and so he is just flooding the market at that point without really a whole lot going on with it. And so could be something to really keep in mind. But I mean, you're looking at even like a lot of the most popular cards. We have Fizz here, $1.80. Akshan, really powerful card in this set, $1.37. Ruin Runner, 80 cents. Yes, it's an uncommon, but still. Even something like Rengar, 76 cents for that rare slot. I mean, just absolutely insane to be able to see. And I gotta say, really like where a lot of these prices are. I am a little bit annoyed with like the Aurelia signature spells. I'm really annoyed with the Rise. I really thought that spell, signature spell, would be staying a lot lower. I thought that would be a great budget option for people. But unfortunately, it looks like that is going to be a little bit harder to chase in this case. But, that's Riftbound for you. Likewise, one thing that's interesting, Kaisa Survivor is now climbing back up to that $90 range. So again, though, here we are with a playset of Chinese. You can play Chinese in your deck, and you can pick up a playset for $170, give or take. Likewise, down here, if you do just want to run the alt arts, that's going to be around $90. That's going to be costing you a pretty penny. But that's the hard part, because even if you go to the regular Kaisa, well, the regular Kaisa is $10 cheaper. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, if it's only $10 cheaper, why wouldn't I buy the alternate art? Now, of course, some people argue that this one does look a lot better than the alt art. Rightfully so, but the texturing on the alt art looks really good. But still, you're looking at near the same prices here, and even the Chinese are kind of, suppressing it a tiny bit. But even if not, you're still looking at one at $80, and then we have one at $85, and then after that, you're at the same exact price as the alternate art, which is just absolutely insane. One that actually really climbed again is Timewarp. It was around $40 to $45 for the longest time, and now it's climbing right back up. There's a couple of decks that run him. Ezreal sometimes, Kaisa does, but the hardest part about that is I do think this is one of the cards that might fall away, because there are just a lot of ways to be able to counter a Timewarp. You have Fiora's signature spell and Hard Bargain. That alone is already super insane as a avenue to go down, because it's just you pay 10 and they just go Hard Bargain and it costs 2, and your Timewarp is now dead. And that, if that isn't the most rage-inducing game for a Kaisa player, I don't know what is. But again, that's something that you got to keep in mind with that. Likewise, one thing that is going to be really climbing up too, this is the highest price that we have ever seen Baited Hook. Now, Baited Hook originally actually lingered at the $40 price mark. It was a Darius hook that was played a decent amount, and then it fell down to about $20 at the tail end of Origins. And now with Fiora Hook, again, it got second place. Fiora Hook did. Really powerful deck, really fun deck. One of the most fun decks I've ever played, in this game at least. Now it's at $52, so $156 to be able to grab yourself a playset. I don't know if that's going to be necessarily something worth grabbing here. Again, maybe check out the Chinese market, see if you can pick those up for a lot cheaper. Could very well be the case, but again, to get a playset at this point, you got one at $52 and two at $54, $55. That is a lot. And then after that, immediately goes up to $64 to $70. So already just crazy enough to consider that you are probably going to be playing this. But again, was a really fun deck. And if you already have your Baited Hooks, congrats, man. That's awesome. Sivir Aurora has been going around a decent amount. Again, I just don't think necessarily that deck is there, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, of course, the sets, again, just like what we said, has an absolutely insane climb. I mean, we look back on January 11th, so a little over a month ago, it was being sold at $16. And now the cheapest price is $50. Okay, cool. And that's going to be the thing is, probably the thing to do at this point is going to be when we're at the tail end of the set, a month before the next set, 3 weeks, 2 weeks before the next set, it's probably going to be best to start picking up the product that you are assuming is going to be good in the next set, or something that you are wanting to utilize in the next set. Now, of course, we do have Thousand Tail Watcher, which is really cool to be able to see at $19. That was always a really expensive card. Now it's not. And likewise, we even have White Flame Protector. This is one of the biggest falls, top 10 anime falls in history. Whatever, a bad joke. I tried it. Anyway, but White Flame Protector, originally near a $70 card, now down to $13. That's insane. That is absolutely insane to consider. Same with something like a Cathian Rain. That was a near $60, $70 card too. Now it's down to $14. Unchecked Power at this point is almost more expensive than a Cathian Rain. That's just absolutely insane. Mind Splitter, normally around a $2 card, now going up to near $10. Again, Draven is running a lot of them there. Falling Star, same thing, around $6, though it has fallen pretty decently. Same with Zonia's Hourglass, and we'll see where things end up. But again, this market is going to be really interesting to continue to keep an eye on, because especially with the regionals that are going to be coming here, that can really shake up the market, and not in a good way. So again, maybe this might be the time if you're looking at things aside from maybe the heavy stuff, the baited hooks and things like that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's at near $55. Then you're in a pretty good spot at that point. So we'll see how it ends up going. But again, I really hope that we are going to be able to teeter out and get back to a more affordable stuff, at least for a lot of the Origin stuff. We'll see. But this is going to be a lot of fun. And again, I really like how this meta is feeling. I still am a little bit annoyed with the Draven deck in and of itself. It is going to be a fairly cheap deck to build, all things considered. That's also the hard part, because outside of Spinning Axes, it's a really cheap deck. Which means it's probably going to be flooding your local Nexus Knights and also the regionals alike. We'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how it all ends up unraveling here. But again, can't wait to see what ends up happening. But until then, guys, that is going to be it for now. Were you able to get some Spiritforged product? And if so, if not, either way, what deck are you looking to build in Set 2? Let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, guys, have a good one.